Hello, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to CoinLady channel. A large financial institution is planning to offer XRP and other cryptocurrencies for purchase by its customers. Of course, this is happening despite the ongoing SEC versus Ripple case, because, as I and many others have argued for the past 2 years and more, the rest of the world ultimately doesn't care what the US does to destroy XRP in the United States and broader crypto markets. The adoption of decentralized cryptocurrencies like XRP will continue unabated regardless of what occurs in the United States. While I do acknowledge that there is significant risk involved in holding XRP, especially for people in the United States due to the SEC's actions, I think this is a fair trade-off. Look, I'm more worried about what the SEC is doing to my financial security than I am about the volatility in cryptocurrencies. Even though the Securities and Exchange Commission (SEC) is my primary worry, I realize that this may be a lengthy legal battle that may last years, even if it never reaches the Supreme Court. It might, though. But if it does, I'm staying put until they either convince me to give up or find a way to wrench my private keys out of my skull. If the government is capable of doing that, of course. I take it you have my XRP then? But other than that, I'm just going to let this thing play out because, you know, when you come out on the other side, not only will there be, dramatic jump in terms of adoption and price appreciation as a result of that type of clarity, but all of the real-world adoption, which I think is going to play a larger role, especially in mature market in terms of where price lands, is unfolding everywhere else on the planet. Even though the SEC in the United States is seeking to prevent the widespread usage of XRP, that isn't halting its adoption. I'm going to fill you in on the bank's latest developments because they are only going to become more common as time goes on. In addition, we have some news for you that relates to Coinbase's legal woes. The SEC is preparing to sue the cryptocurrency exchange, as you no doubt are aware. The Wells notice was delivered, which serves as a formal warning that legal action will soon be taken. That's essentially the whole thing. And as far as I'm concerned, Gensler has already won the election. The event is inevitable. That seems like an absolute certainty to me. It's possible I'm wrong, but that's how I see it. In addition, I have feedback on this issue from 3 lawyers in the XRP community: Bill Morgan, Jeremy Hogan, and John Deaton. So let's just have a great big fun time right now. But I do want to clarify something before we go any further. I have zero experience in either the law or finance. Nothing I say or write should be taken as legal or financial advice, and you should not make any purchases or sales based on it. For fun and as a pastime, I enjoy making videos about crypto-related topics to share on YouTube. At first, I'm sure you weren't thinking that when I stated a major bank was going to start selling XRP to its customers, I was referring to the United States. Obviously, the threat of a lawsuit from the SEC would prevent any bank from taking such a course of action. Because I'm not familiar with the name of this bank, I will likely mispronounce it. However, I promise to give it my all here. From what I can tell, Raiffeisen got it exactly right. Invest in Shiba Inus and Bitcoins at this bank. Since RLB appears to be the ticker symbol, I guess we'll go with that. To become the first traditional bank in the EU to offer its customers the chance to invest in digital currencies like Bitcoin, XRP, and Shiba Inu, among others, an Austrian regional bank that is part of the Raiffeisen banking group is planning to make history. And, by the way, the only part of this trend that I'm not entirely fond of is the way in which XRP is being compared to Shiba Inus. Now I'm confused. The future has no guarantees. Perhaps some meme coins have staying power after all. I mean, what if Doge is still popular 30 years from now? Man, I just don't know. I can't say for certain. It seems ridiculous in 2023, but you never know. Strange things do occur, right? Who could have imagined 14 years ago that this magic internet money would still exist? By incorporating Bitpanda Technology Solutions, which offers institutions an investment as a service option, the regional bank intends to give its customers the chance to invest in Bitcoin, Shiba Inu, and XRP. Including crypto stocks, ETFs, metals, and commodities, Bitpanda now supports over 2,500 assets in 5 asset classes. Bitpanda made the cooperation announcement in a recent blog post. RLB stressed the importance of the collaboration and announced the signing of a letter of intent in a formal statement. The bank has said that it is currently evaluating the viability and specifics of the partnership with Bitpanda, with results expected by the year's end. Despite the negative developments in the United States, XRP is generally accepted elsewhere in the world with a few notable exceptions. More than 270,000 notable businesses, institutions, and individuals in Lower Austria and Vienna are among Rob's clientele. This is excellent news for Shiba Inus and XRP since it has the potential to enhance both acceptance and demand. Sure, you're right. Thank you for visiting Legacy Finance Crypto. And it's not like this is the first time a traditional financial institution has made a big deal out of adopting crypto. I mean, look at PayPal and BlackRock to name a couple examples. One thing is certain, though, sooner or later, the distinction between a cryptocurrency exchange and a traditional financial market will become increasingly blurry. In fact, it wouldn't surprise me in the least if, in at least some parts of the world, stocks were traded alongside cryptocurrencies. Why wouldn't you want everything to be in one place in the future? At that point, it's redundant to ask what kind of exchange it was because it was just an exchange. Another factor that makes distinctions harder to make is the trend toward tokenizing everything, including equities. Okay, fine. I mean, we still have supplies. This is a symbol for a stock. What I mean is that the lines start to get fuzzy. In addition, they believe that RLB will attract new customers by include digital currencies like Bitcoin, SHIB, and XRP in its investing portfolio. Absolutely not a term in any language. Clients with more options for portfolio diversification and customization. An increasing number of banks are following this lead and adding support for digital assets to their services. That idea seemed even crazier when we first discussed it, 5 years ago. And yet, here we are. That's not totally out there. Never happened. And it's only going to get worse from here on out. That's why I mentioned at the opening of the film that I'm confident justice will be done and the adoption will be taking place in the background even if we have to wait years and years for clarity in the United States and go to the Supreme Court. That, plus any good news about XRP in the future which, again, I'm not suggesting will take that long, I'm just imagining the worst case scenario. If that did occur, then I still want the publicity. I for one am going to keep my position unchanged. Now, on the Coinbase side of things, they've gotten used to what you could call the SEC's Ripple treatment over the past few years. To witness Brian Armstrong, CEO of publicly traded exchange Coinbase, stumble onto the information we've been disseminating over the past 2 years in the XRP community has been fascinating. You can't win on Twitter. Brad Garlinghouse, CEO of Ripple, said that they had found a plethora of documents and videos that would completely demolish the SEC's case. For instance, and this is just to highlight hypocrisy in this one example, there is a video that has been circulating within the XRP community for about 2 years at this point, and in it, Gary Gensler is saying that probably about 3/4 of cryptocurrencies are actually commodities. A few years later, he claims that Bitcoin and everything associated with it is a security. One of these Garys has got to be lying. I think I know which Gary is the liar, so I'd like to watch the first Gary argue the second. And so, that video has been recirculating recently, and when Brian Armstrong saw it, he retweeted it from somebody and remarked, "Wow." And we in the XRP community look at that and how can you not just sigh audibly and facepalm and eye roll and the entire bit? In light of their radio silence over the past few years, how could you resist doing so? While I do like their final amicus brief, I wonder where the rest of the public outrage was. Just like that, XRP got thrown out on the street. They didn't say a word. And now they are doing what the rest of the XRP community has been doing, spreading the same video snippets around. "Oh my god, it's out now," he exclaims. "This is completely unacceptable. Mr. Tidy, a few years ago, where were you?" Totally baffled as to how. This is beyond my comprehension. Because of this, I've contended on numerous occasions that it's possible that they were always simply spineless, linguine sons of B** teachers. And they are learning to stand up for themselves. However, this is not the case. Just seeing that is so frustrating. Obviously, you get it. Really annoying. Naturally, I'm unable to do so. No one here needs to be told. We've all been down in the muck for the past few years. You can see Coinbase's response to the SEC's Wells investigation here on their website. The SEC provided us with a broad and nebulous Wells notice, which we disclosed last month. Our reply to the SEC is being released today. A few days ago, we had a conversation with the SEC about the written and video submissions we had previously supplied. Please note that Coinbase has not and does not currently engage in the business of listing securities. We are the same company that the SEC allowed to go public 2 years ago after extensive discussions with us regarding the very aspects of our business that are now the subject of the Wells. In the future, we want to be able to. However, the SEC has not yet followed the law by allowing companies like Coinbase to register in order to do so. We do not seek out legal conflict with the SEC, but if necessary, we will defend ourselves aggressively and advocate for everyone's equal access to the rule of law. Meanwhile, there is still a need to modernize the financial system, so construction will continue. To ensure that the courts aren't left to sort through questions of regulatory clarity, we will also keep pushing for legislation and rulemaking from the SEC. The Commission does not have the authority to order Coinbase to do several things, including, according to a quote from Coinbase included in a CoinDesk article on the topic, agreeing that virtually all digital assets listed on Coinbase's platform are securities and overhauling its entire business model to register as a securities exchange. I'm not sure what I'm hearing here, though. A form of intimidation. Give the SEC the authority it doesn't have and comply with its requests. Thanks once again for the amicus brief submitted earlier this year. I know it was filed in November, but where was this defense when it was just Ripple and the XRP community responding negatively? Just sometimes it gets on my nerves. They continued by saying that the legislation and the Commission's authority do not support either of these goals. I'm aware that this is illegal and that the SEC is trying to expand its authority. As if it weren't precisely the case here. And because of this, I will stand by Coinbase and continue to advocate for them. But every once in a while I'll complain about it because, to put it mildly, I'm frustrated. I'm at my wit's end. The question is, can you blame me? Now. Many of us probably feel the same way. In light of this revelation, XRP community attorney Bill Morgan sent his best wishes for the forthcoming response. While you're at it, why not let Ripple's lawyers in on your thoughts on XRP asset listing with the SEC? Yes, you make an excellent point. That happening is something I really hope for. I can't say. Technically, that may have happened undetected in the background. Although I have my doubts, I believe it was sometime in early 2019 when Coinbase met with the SEC and presented their case for why XRP is not a security and why they plan to list it barring any objections from the SEC. The SEC said nothing unfavorable, and so the listing went ahead. Okay, so what did Coinbase do to figure that out? Is Ripple aware of that? Attorney Morgan has a good point. Another response to the news from Coinbase came from attorney Jeremy Hogan, who stated, "There's just no way to reconcile allowing Coinbase to sell shares of stock to the public and then turning around 2 years later and saying the sales are all unlawful. That's hardly a safe harbor for investors. This is a regulatory shift. This is exactly right. I can't say. If a trial is held, this is assumed. And, I see that it could be summary judgment, but if it gets that point, which I think it will because, as I mentioned before, the Wells notice, I see it as really a formality. How you'll find a judge who can look at this and not ask, what the hell are you talking about? Is beyond me. That horse. What is it? Nonsense, young man. So, what is it? You, the SEC, have enabled this company to go public while using this business strategy, which is still used today. Since then, very little has changed. And suddenly everything is terrible and awful. Excuse me. You, SEC, are to blame for it. It's not true, but it would be if it were. The SEC would be involved, but it's not entirely unlawful. It's S's fault. Then why the heck are they even here, you ask? To any fair-minded observer, this will appear totally dishonest. NFT Bounty Hunter, a community member who answered, explained why he or she had purchased Coinbase during the IPO. The SEC deemed Coinbase to be a safe investment during the IPO. If the SEC's back and forth regulation causes me financial loss, shouldn't I be allowed to sue them? When asked if the SEC's conduct would warrant punitive penalties, Attorney Hogan replied, "Yes, if the SEC was a company, these actions are negligent at best and intentional at worst. Since it comes from the government, it warrants extra security." Yay. But the good news is, whether they win or lose is completely unrelated to the fact that they have this extra layer of security. Actually, it shouldn't. I repeat, there is no such thing as a perfect legal system. However, a corrupt judge is extremely rare in the United States, especially in a case such as this one. Obviously, we're not talking about the third world or some kind of banana republic here. As if that's not what's going on here or something. You won't find a judge who will say, "Yeah, I got you, Kim Jong-Ginsburg, as a result of corruption. Whatever you need, I'll be there for you." That is not how it works around here. That's why I'm still rather upbeat about this situation. Then there's this as well. The following is a transcript of a tweet sent out by Mr. Huber, a member of the XRP community, to John Deaton. "Hey, John Deaton. Even before Clayton filed the SEC complaint in 2022, Ripple was already a client of Sullivan and Cromwell. In this particular vote, should Clayton have sat it out? Did you get Hester Pierce's approval? Is it why Clayton claimed he had no say in whether or not to bring suit?" In response, Deaton argued that Clayton shouldn't have been allowed to vote because his firm acted as an intermediary in the sale of Quorum between Consensus and J.P. Morgan, which promoted an alternative cryptocurrency to Ripple and XRP called JPM Coin. It's plain to see. However, at the SEC, bias is not a problem. An attorney by the name of Mark Fogel is here to refute that. Contrary to Attorney Deaton's assertions, I have filed an official objection with the SEC. That's like 3 layers removed from a real conflict of interest, argues Attorney Mark here. During and after my time at the SEC, the agency became increasingly strict regarding conflicts of interest. You can always find an optical problem if you look for one, but this is not a dispute over the law. Listen, I'm going to try to be impartial. You know, obviously I have some biases. But in all honesty, I'm not an attorney, so I can't say for sure what distance from the norm constitutes unfairness. As a layperson looking in, though, I can assure you that a conflict of interest is readily apparent. To me, this seems like a typical conflict of interest. The attorney John Deaton seems to be making an excellent case. I'm just being as forthright as I can be and admitting that, legally speaking, I have no idea what to do. On the other hand, to a layperson like myself, it certainly appears to be Attorney Deaton's at the moment. In response, Attorney Deaton said something intriguing about Hinman. He emailed Mark, "Presumably you're prepared to wager that the SEC Ethics Office reviewed Hinman's speech for potential conflicts of interest and approved it." Right. Considering that specific tokens are never discussed, I'm sure you'll agree that his remarks was out of the ordinary. See, and now you make a very good point, as several conflicts of interest have been revealed over the past 2 years and more. The Ethereum exemption speech by Bill Hinman, given on June 14, 2018, is the one he refers to here. Now, prior to that, the Ethics Office made it abundantly clear that Hinman was not permitted to have any kind of appropriate communication. I don't even think he was allowed to, if memory serves, have a phone call with anyone from his old law company. He still went through with the speech. How could it be that the SEC Ethics Office would have okayed something that would considerably benefit and did benefit ETH and as a result his previous firm at that point anyhow, when they were all like, "Yeah, you can't even have a phone conversation and now this." So, explain what you mean by strict. To be honest, it doesn't seem that way right now. And Mark Fogel, a former SEC attorney who now says he doesn't know the answer, agreed. My speeches would be reviewed by the GC, but I have no idea if they would also be vetted by ethics. If I had issues about a conference or program sponsors, I'd bring them up with the ethics committee, but I can't say for sure whether or not that applies to that presentation. Do you suppose, once again, that Hinman ran this by the ethics office? My guess is that he didn't, because if he had, the speech probably wouldn't have been authorized. Consequently, I don't buy the claims that there are no biases or that information is kept at least 3 levels removed. Again, I'm not familiar with the applicable legal norm, but this argument seems unconvincing. On the surface, it appears to be complete gibberish. All I want to say is that, as for me, I don't offer financial advice. Nothing I write or say should be used as a basis for making any financial decisions. Please like and subscribe my channel. See you in the next video. Bye.